Sandra Funk, and this is Design Sips. Let's do it. Oh, except for we don't have anything to sip because I didn't open the wine yet. So let's get right on that. Hi, how are you? How have you all been? It has been a long and fabulous summer. I am thoroughly enjoying it. I hope you are too. I hope it's sunny and gorgeous where you are today. I'm going to open up some wine because it's been a minute and I missed y'all. And we are going to drink a little wine and talk about the business of interior design. Anybody out there interested in talking biz this afternoon? Awesome. So good. Well, like I said, we are doing our thing and we're just getting going. So let's get this party started. I have wine in the shot. There's a lot happening here today. So I am drinking a little Sonoma Couture Chardonnay. It's delish, and I have a whole bunch of it because I think you may have noticed I buy wine by the case. So we are on a Sonoma Couture kick. Gotta love it. What are you twisting open? What are you pouring right now? Is it whiskey on the rocks? Man, does every country song talk about drinking whiskey, or is it just me? Y'all, I moved to Tennessee, and there's a lot of chit chat about whiskey drinking. My family, I grew up in Michigan, 3 miles across the lake to Canada, and so there's always been a lot of whiskey drinking in my neck of the woods, but it was Canadian whiskey when I was growing up. And even now, they're still drinking it, frankly. They have not stopped. Okay, here we go. We're pouring. So I want to hear from you. What are you drinking? Let me know. Okay, a little healthy pour, so we don't have to refill too often. We were joking earlier this week about, in one of our top line icebreakers, about what your Olympic sport would be. And of course, mine would be some cheesy rhythmic dancer, or maybe a diver, or maybe a gymnast if I had any upper arm strength at all. But really, if they had a case race, that's what I would really be best for. I'm a really good anchor for things like that, just so you know. If ever you have one, call me. I'm your girl. I can always get it done at the end. Okay, but I digress as usual, and I haven't even had a sip yet. Cheers to Design Sips. Back in action, people. Now, on today's episode, we are talking about the 5 design agreement must-haves. The 5 things that you better have in your design agreement or else. Let's do it. Okay. We will be covering the purpose of the design agreement is number 1. Number 2, why communication boundaries are outlined in my agreement. Number 3, how to be transparent with potential clients about your pricing. Now, when I say transparent, I'm not joking around. I am transparent, but there's a whole bunch of different ways that that's being used in our industry right now to shame people for making money. And there's no shame in making money. You are a business. That is your purpose, right? You are more than welcome to do this as a hobby, but you better walk on over to another show because that is not what we're going to be talking about. We're talking about people who are serious entrepreneurs in the design industry. All right, so that was 3. I know we said we had 5. I don't know where the other 4 went. 3, 4, anyway, we'll figure it out. Let's dive into questions and about the design agreement, and we'll dig a little deeper. And I bet you we'll find 4 and 5 in there somewhere if I had to guess. Okay, so we're gonna dig in. Brian asks, is communication, like answering emails, texts, phone calls, addressed in your design agreement? Well, yeah, of course it is, because this is all time. And I am a flat fee girl, right? So I want to have a flat design fee so that I can provide the incredible, amazing interior design services to my clients, but I also need to create a strong container, right? Strong boundaries for that to work. So for me to be profitable, I need strong boundaries. So when I talk about communication, is that addressed? It is. And it's also a conversation that I have. So for me, you're going to send over your questions via email is best. We like in writing. Text are a no-no. You only have my cell phone if I'm meeting you at the Stone Yard in some shady, weird back alley neighborhood, because that's where Stone Yards are, and we need to be able to find each other, but it is not so that it can become an 8 a.m., 9 p.m., Saturday morning, Sunday afternoon text situation, because that always, always, always gets lost in the shuffle for me. Now, if text is your way to talk, then that's okay. You make that the thing. You figure that out. Maybe you screenshot it all and save it somewhere so you do have it all in writing. That's not my scene. Texts just get like lost in the shuffle. And I always say to my clients, if you want it to be, my kids just swipe up and keep on playing the game that they're playing when they borrow my phone back in the day when they were toddlers. And it's just been the same principle. Like if I'm checking a text and it's late or it's super early or I'm with my family, I'm not giving you my full focus. It's just not the best way to reach me. Phone calls. So phone calls to me are like meetings. So there are a certain, there are certain scheduled meetings that are going to happen. And otherwise, I need you to distill down your thoughts, your questions, your comments, your concerns, put them in writing and send them over to me. And what we really do, and the way we really contain this, is that unless it's a 5-alarm fire, in which case phone call, text, email, scream from the rooftop, get a hold of me, right? Like your door won't lock and we just put a brand new door handle on or something, 5-alarm fire, call me, fine. Or your hood's not venting or your fireplace is, the brand new fireplace, the house is filling up with smoke. Like those are 5-alarm. Use all the technology, use every method of communication you can get your hands on. But for regular old everyday questions, they will be batched and answered in the Friday update. So it's a real clear way. And we just do that right from the beginning so that we are consistent, we are reliable, and we are training our clients like how it works to communicate with us. Because of course they're new to us and they don't know. And so we have to be consistent, as well as go ahead and say it up front right from the very beginning. I've definitely had clients in the potential client process that wanted to be on the phone a lot. And right out of the gate, it was like, listen, I'm not a phone call person. I'll get on the phone with you if that's like, we're having a Zoom, we're having a meeting, we're doing a call because, it's scheduled, something like that. But I'm not going to just be like on the phone with you for a half an hour every 3 days a week. It's just not me. And it's not, in my opinion, the most efficient way to use our time together. So if I have someone who's just a person who picks up the phone and wants to chat everything through and kind of looks down on someone if they send an email instead of like, that's a phone call, you should have picked up the phone for that. That's not my people. That's not my client, right? So you kind of have to watch that in the potential client process because it'll show itself. Someone who takes a really long time to get back to you, or somebody who, has to get your phone number, all those little tells are in there. So if you're paying attention, it can be helpful. All right. So we have more questions. And in the meantime, we're going to say cheers. Shall we? Anyone? So Elizabeth asks, I've heard of other designers including photography terms in their agreement. Is this something you do? Absolutely. Okay. And I'm going to tell you why. You want to know right from the get-go if you're photographing that job, if it's like even a possibility. So, and there's a couple of reasons why. You might be at capacity, but this might have the potential to be like the most incredible portfolio job on the planet. But deep down, this client doesn't want any press, right? They're super private, they're not interested, etc. So if you have that in your agreement right from the beginning, that's something you're going to address and talk about right from the get-go. So because you might want to do that job because it's going to be an incredible portfolio builder. On the flip side, you might not care. You might need to put, food on the table to get that work done. And it doesn't matter if you photograph that job or not, but it's good to know going in. Also, I find it smooths out the process, right? And I'm all about efficiency in the process. Instead of like getting to the point where we're at in the job where it's time to start thinking about accessories and scheduling the photography and now I'm putting another question in front of my clients, another conversation in front of my clients. If it's already been signed off on in the design agreement way back when, now it's just a matter of scheduling. There's no, hey, can we and are we going to? I'm down the scheduling rabbit hole instead of stopping and starting again to have a conversation. So I love that. Awesome. All right, we have more questions. All right, are you all having a cocktail with me, or am I just drinking alone here? This whole design sips alone in a room, I had gotten used to it, and then now here I am again, missing you all, missing every one of you. All right, don't make me feel like I'm drinking alone. Hit me with like a heart if you're having a cocktail. Even lie to me a little if you have to. Just make me feel better. Okay, so Jackie asks, does your design agreement discuss trade discounts? Our design agreement doesn't necessarily talk about trade discounts. It talks about the fact that we purchase at, I guess we We purchase at a trade discount. So, right, we have buying power because we're in a wholesale trade, and we purchase at a different price point than a retail person would. Thank you for those hearts. I really appreciate them. And what it basically says in my agreement is that they're not privy to that information, that we purchase at wholesale discounts and or trade, depending on our buying level, and that we turn around and sell goods at reasonable retail pricing. The difference between those two things are in fact what makes us a business and makes us profitable, right? In addition to our fees, our design fees, and that they are in no way privy to our buying power, what we purchase at, or any of that information. So I'm going to say it one more time. This is like so important. We have better buying power than a normal individual off the street would because we buy over and over and over again. We're repeat customers naturally over a 20 to 30 year career, right? Maybe 50-year career because I ain't going anywhere. And then, so we have this great buying power. We turn around and sell those goods at a reasonable retail price. What does reasonable retail mean? The price that you're going to see it out in the world at. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to be the lowest price. It's not going to be the IMAP. It's not going to be the minimum advertised price available. It's going to be the retail price. It's going to be the price that this belongs at, okay? That is the price. You either set that price as a business owner, entrepreneur, designer, or that price is often set by the manufacturer. But when it's not, it's up to you to set that price. And that, again, is your internal workings, not something that the client is privy to. And that's all in the agreement. And all you have to do is spell that out really clearly. And really, the easiest hurdle to get over is to say, well, that's the part where I actually have this as a business. I make money. This is my livelihood. This is the money that I use to feed my family, right? And run my life. This is the reason I'm able to be in business, to bring the beauty and the designs and the function and all of these incredible trade resources to you, is because I make money, the difference between my buying price and the price that I sell it to you. And it's not up for discussion, by the way. Okay, cool. Cheers to not up for discussion. Sometimes it's just not. Okay, so Kareen asks, can I put in the contract that the professional photos may be used in publications and they need to agree to let that happen? Absolutely. So you want to get into your design agreement and you want to use all the words to make sure that when those photos come back from your photographer, you are good to go, that you are able to use them in your marketing, on your website, in publications, in any way that you see fit to support marketing your business, okay? You have paid for those photos. That is your design work in those photos. You've done all the legwork around hiring an amazing photographer and bringing in the accessories and the fresh flowers, and make sure you leave a bouquet for your clients so they feel love. And then I get so granular as to say, do you want to be interviewed? Do you want to be named? Do you not want to, are you okay with the home being photographed, but you don't want to be involved, like named or interviewed? Like, I take it all the way because I know from over the years of talking to editors what they're going to ask me. And so I just put it right in the contract. And so that's already decided, agreed upon ahead of time. I can take that little section and I can scan it and I can send it over to the editor so that they can see that the client has 100% signed off on all of this. Yeah, get it all in there at once. When they're feeling excited, they can't wait to work with you, and you can just have them, take the time and attention to fill out all these forms all at the beginning. It's wonderful. A million different ways to do digital signatures, but it's all done online. So it's just click, 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 and we make them mandatory. So they have to address those questions before they can sign off on our design agreement. It's kind of good, right? Like, get it all done right when you have their focus. One of the things I find back in the day when we didn't have it done that way is we'd be waiting around for weeks for the client to sign off on photography. We'd have a hot editor ready to go. We're got some scouting shots and we're going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. It's no way to do it. When an editor's interested, you need to be ready to rock. So having that all signed off in advance is huge when it comes to getting published. All right. Speaking of huge, we need a huge sip of wine right now, don't you think? Maybe a little sip, you do you. Okay, so Jeff asks, how do you handle a client adding scope to an existing project or design agreement? Jeff, let me tell you something. There is nothing better than a good client adding scope to the project, right? Okay, you found them, you marketed for them, you came to an agreement of how you're going to work together, right? They're on board with you. They're an existing client, so you've built some trust. You've built some camaraderie. You understand your communication styles. They're on board with your price points if they're adding scope. This is gold. This is everything. There is only good things that can come from an existing client adding more scope to the project. It's the best thing on the planet, and it's the biggest compliment you're ever going to get, right? So when that happens, you are doing a little happy dance, number one. Number two, you are going back to your flat fee calculator. You are going back to your schedule, right? So the most important thing with scope creep is that it gets a new fee and it gets a new timeline, okay? And then it is the most incredible double down, triple your bet. I don't know, all the analogies I don't have at my fingertips right now in the world, okay? Scope creep only is yucky when they try to squeeze it into the current budget or the current timeline, okay? But if you go back and you set a new budget, you set a new design fee, and you set a new timeline, it's the best thing that ever happened to your design business. So keep it coming. Yay to yay. Cheers to that, shall we? I see you all out there, and I want to say hello. Hello. Cheers to drinking. On a Wednesday afternoon. It's been a minute, and I like being back. It's so good. Okay, we have more questions, people. Are you ready? I think I am. Kara asks, does your design agreement include product refunds or cancellations? So yes, of course, we're going to address all of those standard contractual things that come with when you sell goods to someone. So you're going to make it clear what it is, how you're going to handle those things. So for us, we are high-end, luxury, full-service interior design. 99.9% of what we sell is custom or made per the order and or non-refundable to us. So then in that case, we turn around and it's non-refundable to our clients, okay? So the cost of freight is no joke. The cost of procurement is no joke. What we find is that we are better off with 100% no refund policy in interior design because of that customization level. I love the old Toby Fairley quote. You've heard me say it before. I'm going to say it again. I love her. And her old joke is, if you decide you don't want that green sofa when it shows up at your house, I can guarantee that I don't want it either. And that's what happens. A designer who doesn't have a rock solid no refund policy ends up with a lot of custom goods in their own home because the manufacturers are not taking it back. And so what we need to do in that case, similar to a warranty, we can only pass on what is available to us. So we can only, while our industry does not have a lot of refund policy, it really doesn't. It's it's a custom no refund policy kind of industry. And so that's what we need to pass to our clients. Similarly, the warranties that are included in the product are what we can pass to our clients. We cannot warranty or guarantee above and beyond what we are warranted or guaranteed against. So now standing behind the things you sell is a whole different scene, right? So if something falls apart and it shouldn't have, but it's technically, 3 days past warranty, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to be calling the sales rep, that I'm not going to be having the company come in, that I'm not going to be having a discussion, and sometimes that I might not go out on a limb and spend my own money to have it fixed, repaired, touched up, etc. I will stand behind my product, but I can only warranty so far. I'm also a crazy stickler about what I sell for that reason. So I will not dip down below a certain standard of quality because I know from experience going below a certain level of quality is nothing but headaches. If something is made with fiberboard, MDF, back in the day, crappy materials, and and it gets damp and or it gets bummed up in storage all the time, or you have a company that does not pack things well, and you know this from experience, blackball them. Stop using them. Your time is too valuable to deal with companies that don't do the same quality standards that you expect in your own home, and also that don't stand behind their product, that don't take the care in shipping, that don't take the care in customer service. A company really quickly will tell you where they stand with that, and you need to be listening and you need to pay attention. And you'll open up in our design software, you might go to a couple of vendors and it just says, do not use in all caps. We are just like, nope, we're done with that person. If they're not going to have high quality standards as we do, we can't pass it along to our client. Because again, we will stand behind our product and what's reasonable. That's the deal. Cheers to that. Okay. How about you guys? How do you handle things like that? Damage, refunds, returns? Hit me up in the comments and let me know what you do with that. I'd love to keep that conversation going because it's a big one. And especially right now with, companies trying to get back online, trying to get workers back in, freight all backed up. I've heard from a few people that there's a lot of, freight damage and issues and just delays. And so things are getting kind of scooched through when maybe they wouldn't have made quality control before, but now they're getting shipped. It's really tough. Okay. Eve asks, do you use the same design agreement for build and renovate projects? I sure do. So my design agreement is all encompassing. So it's a little silly because I do remember having someone who was doing a very small project back before I kind of shut down really tiny projects. It was like a 1-room project, which I don't tend to do. I tend to have like a 3-room minimum, and somebody was doing a very small project, and my design agreement's not small because it's very comprehensive. It addresses all the things that need to be addressed. And they thought it was kind of overkill, but the idea is that it's protecting you no matter what the size of that project is. And then same thing for build renovate. So often my design projects turn into a build renovate because later we realize if we just took out that wall, XYZ, or if we end up with a contractor in there switching out plumbing, lighting, built-ins, like it ends up needing that level of design agreement anyway. And then for the build renovate portion, it just really goes over a few additional things, like some additional meetings that are had, and also more of like about site visits and how those work when we're doing a build or a renovate project. So it's just a couple of if statements that make it work for all of those projects. And I don't like having 300 agreements because then you're paying a lawyer to review 300 agreements, right? So one all-inclusive works for me. Okay, awesome. Debbie asks, do you include contractors' work in your design agreement, or do your clients enter a separate contract with them? We have our clients enter a separate agreement with any licensed contractors. That is the law of the land where I operate. You need to check with your lawyer about what you need to do in your neck of the woods, okay? So for us, anyone who's licensed, a licensed electrician, licensed plumber, licensed general contractor, need to be in direct contract with the clients. Now, some designers get their GC license so that they can be the middleman between those trades and pick up that project management fee. Awesome. If that appeals to you, it's another great way to do it. Cool? Cheers. You guys, I love it. Keep the comments coming. Keep the questions coming. I am so excited that you're all out there and, that we're just like having a cocktail on a Wednesday and chatting it up. Rachel asks, does your design agreement cover termination from either party? Yes, it does. So here's the deal. Termination is a real bummer, but it's real, right? It happens. Things change, things shift. People, there's global pandemics and people decide to move across the country. Right here, right? So that stuff happens. So we need to be able to decide that a project that was going to happen isn't going to happen anymore. And it's about just clarifying who owns what the obligations are to deliver content back and forth, et cetera, et cetera. I will tell you this. I've heard many times about interior designers wanting to fire bad clients, right? But I have to say, my termination agreement does not include, there's no real good way out for a designer because they don't like their client anymore, right? If you signed up and you said you were going to do it, you kind of need to either give all their money back or do it, right? That's the gig. So I go so deep on the potential client process in our interior design standard, our template for business owners, because you are getting into a long-term relationship when you sign up for a client. And it's one that you really don't have, like, it's not willy-nilly. It's not, I mean, you can quit a job faster than you can quit a client, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. Because I think you're taking on an obligation and you need to see it through. Now, that's not to say that I would never tolerate verbal abuse or any kind of abuse or anyone treating my team poorly. Like, okay, now we have grounds, right, for a true termination and a true breakup. But if it's just like, I'm sick of that, or a better client came along or a bigger project came along, nah, you gotta put your head down and finish it, baby. You can blast on through it and finish it quick, no doubt about it. But yeah, we do have termination clause. Definitely worth a read. Definitely take those potential clients on with a lot of introspection. It's really a really important time to listen to your gut, and don't you dare ignore those red flags, because I know for me, my projects were typically 6 months to 18 months. Now with the pandemic and all the slowdowns and the holds and the pauses and the lead times, we are in like a very long-term relationship. Like, I have design clients that are older than my children, like our relationship. So, obviously that's been going on for a very long time, but yeah, good times. But take those potential clients seriously, because you don't just want the next one, you want the next best one, right? Cheers to that. Also, quick note, feel free to ask any questions that you have as a business owner and or a design entrepreneur. Design Sips is this amazing little moment where I'm drinking wine, I got my camera on, I'm sitting alone in my office, and I'm available to you. So if I don't get your question answered today while we're live, it might be because we have an episode coming up that will cover that topic. But I would love to know, if you're just sitting down with me and we were actually alone, the two of us, drinking a glass of wine, and you felt like you could ask me anything, what would you ask me? What do you want to know about how I run my very elderly design business? No, I'm kidding. 15 years, right? Is that where we are? Wait, I think I've been saying 15 years for 15 years. Does it feel like that? It sure does to me. Okay. Are we back to, Corrine has another great question. Are there any other ways to create boundaries with clients that is not in the contract? Well, so, okay, I love the idea of putting things in writing and or in the presentation. So when you first meet with a potential client, it's so killer important to not just hand them your design agreement and think that they're going to read it, because they're not going to. There's like 1 out of 12 design potential clients will read the contract, and that person is a lawyer or an engineer. And I'm going to tell you right now, you got to think really long and hard if you want to take on a lawyer or an engineer client. But those are the only ones that are going to read that contract if you just leave it with them and don't go through it together. You have to sit down and you have to go through all the major points that make your business tick in your agreement together. Eyeballs to eyeballs, Zoom to Zoom, in person. If you're a phone person, on the phone is fine, although I think you lose a lot of the ability to read body language when you're on the phone, which is why I don't like it. Okay, so, but this is a great time for setting boundaries. It's a wonderful time to outline what's going to work for you, what's not going to work for you, what are the expectations, how this is going to happen, because you get to do it all before they sign up. You get to lay out you get to literally explain, my dream client interaction would be a weekly email of this, of that, you getting back to me in a timely manner, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'd like your responses within 1 week. I'd like them to be concise. I'd like them to be whole. Like, all the things that you dream of as in an ideal client. You can tell them stories about the complete opposite of an ideal client and how bad that went. And this client changed their mind every 15 minutes. The project went on for 3 years. It was supposed to be 6 months. Like, you can set all of these parameters up, right? So then maybe they're going to say, gosh, I'm really indecisive. She is not going to be able to tolerate me because I'm going to change my mind every 5 minutes. And they might self-select to go find somebody else. I absolutely have had potential clients where I said, we have a meeting, then you give me your revisions within 1 week, and then we have another meeting with those revisions made, And then we make a decision and you purchase. And they said, I just know I'm going to need to see more than 2 options. Like I'm not going to want to see a completed room and then have one option per item and then see another presentation and then make a decision. I'm going to want to see every sofa. I'm going to want to see every fabric. Well, yay, they decided that they weren't right for me. And you know what? Thank God, because they would have killed me. I mean, I would have been like on the floor somewhere, again, in a small ball, crying quietly to myself if I had to show a client every sofa available, because only you and I know just how many sofas that is. If you've been to High Point, right? If you've been to the markets, if you've been to the showrooms, they have no idea how many options are out there and that we're curating the best for them. So someone who needs to see everything before they can make a decision is not my client. Now, listen, there is someone out there for them. There's somebody who can either wrangle them, because they're really good with those kind of people, and talk them off that ledge, or can show a million options, because that's just like their nature. Like that's their way, or that's their process, or that's what they've got built into their program. Awesome, fine, but that's not me. I'm going to show you like one full room that is like magic in how it clicks together like a Rubik's Cube. And if you take one piece apart, I really have to go back to the drawing board and like make it magic again. And that's why I do that 1 round of revisions. It's really important to me that it all comes back together. And let me tell you, that 1 round of revision is way harder than that initial design, right? Because I'm walking away from my top choice. Sean Lowe is another consultant design person who I just love. And he always talks about, how deep are you willing to go? Are you willing to do the 2nd and the 3rd and the 4th and the 5th revision? And how do you even want that room to be created with 5 revisions deep? Like we're now on your 5th best favorite choice for this client. And you know, that's a big part of why I do 1 round of revisions. I'll revise as many things as you want, but 1 round. And then, you know, and then we need to go back to the drawing board of design fees and or are we a fit? Does this even make sense, right? Like if you and I aren't aesthetically getting on board with each other, does it make sense to keep banging our head on this wall? Or do you take what we, you know, take the bits that you can and walk on down the road? So, okay, these are my thoughts. So let's drink wine and then have another question, shall we? What do you guys have? Come on, hit me with it. Questions right here. What do you have? So Melinda asks, for a future episode, would you talk about marketing to potential clients in the multiple places they are in the sales process? Thanks. Oh yeah, absolutely. We love marketing, number 1. We love the idea of meeting those clients where they are. Some that are just kicking tires and wondering if they should even hire an interior designer. Some that have interviewed 5 already and they've all been disappointing and they're knocking on your door. Some that have been following you for years and it's just a matter of when they're going to pull the trigger, or maybe convincing their significant other that it's time. Yeah, I love that idea. We'll definitely noodle on that. Okay, so what do you all think? Are we having a good time yet? I think so. All right, so Kareen, you are bringing me questions. I love this. Kareen has another one. What is your project management fee for trades, and how do you explain that to clients? So in my design agreement, I let them know that if trades are being hired through me, that there's a project management fee for me to do so. So what that means is, again, I am typically putting trades through me that do not require a license. So a wallpaper installer, a carpet runner installer, a painter, etc., right? Non-licensed trades. Now there's parts of the country in the world where you can't even put any trades through you. It's just not legal in your jurisdiction. So you need to check. I also at some point or another got a general contractor's license, because what I was realizing is that every now and again, I needed to have 1 chandelier replaced when I was working on a decorative only project, or 1 faucet swapped out, and it seemed a complete waste of time, energy, and money to bring in a GC to do that. And or certainly now they are not even answering my phone calls for those little tiny jobs. It's like mayhem out there. Everyone is so stinking busy. So, look into it. It's a possibility for you to get a GC license and run very small trades like that through you and do it legally and do it properly. Now, of course, don't forget, because I was already doing build renovate jobs and because I already had drawings on job sites with my name on them, I already have insurance up the wazoo. I mean, banana nuts insurance. And certainly, and I kind of was insured as if I was a GC anyway, just for extra protection. So just know, if you do decide to go the GC license route, you may trigger your insurance to go up. But again, I had chosen to just have wazoo insurance anyway, because my name was always on the drawings that they were working from, and it felt important. But as I always say, there's no quick answer to the insurance question. Definitely find an insurance carrier, lay out to them straight up what it is you do, what kind of work you're involved in. You know, do you have people on job sites? Do you have plans on job sites? Like all those things. You need to confess how at risk you are and then insure yourself accordingly. It's so important. Okay. I like it. Okay, Erica, thank you guys for these questions. I'm loving it. Erica asks, for a person wanting to transition into design, what is the first business move you would recommend? Oh, I like that. Going way back to my days. So when I transitioned from business process consulting to interior design, my first best step was to go work for someone else and learn. Okay. That is what was right for me. I was, 25 at the time. So that was appropriate, right? Now, if I was, later in my career and ready to start my own business and not interested in going and working for someone else, then I think the first most important business move would be to find a way to do what I did by working for others and go learn from someone who's already done it, which leads me to the standard. So a great way to learn what another designer has done is to be a fly on the wall, hire them to be your mentor, and either find someone who's willing to mentor you and or get into a program like the Design Standard, where you are in a community of designers. You're able to use that resource, you're able to have those conversations, and you're able to use someone like me, a 15-year tried and true business process model that has been profitable and a joy to run, and you can just catapult that learning forward, because it really is, it's an industry kind of full of people who've kind of just figured it out as they went, as did I. I mean, I worked for some incredible people, and I worked in multiple areas of this industry, which I think gave me an incredible insight. So I worked in the retail end of this industry. I worked for Ethan Allen when I first was going back to design school at night. That was my day job. Holy shit, did I learn sales and how to deal with all the clients. I was working in the New York City flagship store of Ethan Allen. So it was huge, and it was full of cranky, angry New Yorkers who were really just coming in because it was raining outside, it was hot outside, it was cold outside, or they needed to use the bathroom. But man, did I sell them random pieces of furniture while they were on the way to the bathroom. I did, like a lot, often. And had some incredible, huge projects there as well. I did my first remote design project there. I somehow ended up on The View doing Joy Behar's apartment. I mean, New York is like that though. You just sort of like randomly fall into these like incredible opportunities. And then I went and worked inside the showrooms in a to the trade only high end showroom called Christopher Norman. It's gone now, but they had a whole bunch of different lines of crazy high-end, beautiful things: lighting, furniture, wallpaper, fabrics, paint, carpet. I literally learned what you're looking for when you're looking at quality in the interior design industry. And I'm talking $18,000 lamps, $45,000 chandeliers, like high quality, like Holly Hunt is a step down from what we sold at this showroom. It was such a lesson. And I was there a couple of years, again, while I was in design school. Such a lesson, such an incredible, incredible schooling. Having each one of these lines that we represented in that showroom come through and talk about their own personal furnishings line, lighting line, wallpaper line with such passion, and talking about the artisans from around the world who make these pieces. I mean, there's a story, right? And that's a huge part of sales, is telling the story. And then I went and worked for interior designers, and I worked for 3 interior designers, and I will say to you, one was an incredible businesswoman, and oh my gosh, did I learn so much from her. Beautiful designer, beautiful spirit, beautiful person. The other one was an incredible artist. Holy crap, did she take a house and push it and make it art every time. And then the third was a humongous lesson in what not to do. Exactly the opposite of how I would run a business if I was ever going to be in business for myself. And that's the one that I left and started my own business, because I was like, okay, I know that I can do at least as good as that, right? And I can be more communicative, and I can be more straightforward. And I'm a huge transparency person. Like, I want you to know why I need to make money, right? I want my clients to know that I'm going to buy it at wholesale and sell it at retail, and that's totally reasonable. That's exactly what it was created for. That's the purpose of it, is that this is in fact how I make my money. And yes, there's also a design fee, because there's a lot of creative design work that goes into the design before we get to purchasing. So it's twofold, right? I'm not going to do all that design work hoping you purchase, and then you might not purchase. And I'm also not going to make the design fee so high that I don't need to make the money on the purchases, because there's a lot of work that goes into the purchases. And if we never get there, that design fee would be astronomically out of whack. So this twofold model that I've think tanked, refined, reviewed, looked at, our industry it's a normal in our industry, but it's also questioned all the time. But it is the way to do it. It's the way to go into it. So that is the longest possible answer, but there it is. That was the answer. Cheers. Is your program, the Interior Design Standard, applicable in other countries? I'm based in the Philippines. Absolutely. And we actually have incredible members in the Philippines right now. So it is 100% anywhere in the world that you want to level up your business, have a model that the clients love, that designers love, that is about clarity and honesty and totally moral and totally appropriate, and yet totally brings you joy and efficiency and great profits, because that's also completely okay. It is totally okay to make good money doing something that you also love and are passionate about. It's totally okay. And our industry kind of like wavers on that point. And I'm not really into that wavering on that one. But yes, you can use the standard the world over. I don't know. We haven't gotten there yet, but I'm convinced that I'm going to be able to tell you the number of continents we're on, the number of countries we're in, and all those things. I've been so busy doing that I haven't sat back and really looked at those metrics, but it makes me so happy to know that there is someone in the Philippines using the standard already, and they're loving it. Okay, so we have drank the wine. We have had the chat. I didn't answer your specific question today, it's because we've got an episode coming up and it's perfect for that, and I will get to it then. I want you to know that I've missed you, and it's been so fabulous having a cocktail with you this afternoon. I would love it if you would check out our demo module. It's this little sample. It really talks to the potential client process, and you can check that out at interiordesignstandard.com. Cheers to you. I'll talk to you soon.